and welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Charlotte Smith, who's going to really help us, open our minds to have a limitless future. Charlotte, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm excited to be here.
Well, that makes two of us. I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some time. So Charlotte is an attorney, works with attorneys, but even if you're not an attorney, you're going to learn something from this because she talks about concepts and struggles that really are common to all business people, probably all people, but specifically business people. And she really wants to help lawyers break through what I would call limiting beliefs and find systems to live a life of happy successfulness, I guess is the way I would put it. I don't know if those are right words or not, but she focuses a lot on leadership coaching, masterminds for lawyers, and does some work with the corporate worlds as well. So Charlotte, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about, you've got this vast background with being a lawyer and everything, but how did you get to where you're today? And then we'll talk later about the different challenges that you help attorneys and lawyers break through. How'd you get to where you are?
Well, there's the short story, there's the long story, and I'm going to give you the short story today.
Fair enough.
But I will say it has been quite a journey, and I will also say that there wasn't necessarily this huge vision or strategy in place.
Okay.
I have followed the breadcrumbs. And isn't it interesting where the universe, where the world takes you? So I started my legal career fresh out of law school. I worked at some of the big international law firms, Baker and McKenzie. Spent time out in Jakarta, which was amazing, and quite an interesting experience. The BBC, and then I found my home at a law firm in the UK that specialised in travel and aviation law. So it was very specialist and niche. And as you can tell from the accent, I'm from the UK. So I spent 7 years there and made partner, won awards, and at around 7 years in, my lovely husband, I just got married, came home from work with this great job opportunity to move to Silicon Valley, California.
Okay.
And so that was my crossroad moment. And we thought long and hard, should I accept partnership? Should we have an adventure? And we decided to go and place our vote with adventure.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of been the path to getting to the US. And we've been here 8 years now. It was originally meant to be 2 years. And so, I had this question, do I want to practice in California? Do I want to try something different? Entrepreneurship was always really interesting to me. The factors around annual leave and parental leave were definitely on my mind. It looks very different in the US to what it looks like in Europe.
Okay.
So that, again, was something that was an idea percolating in my mind when I made the decision. And I'd always been fascinated with human performance. I had always been interested because the employment law for these travel and aviation companies, how do you attract and retain the best talent? I saw many examples of ineffective leaders and people leaving and toxic cultures, but then also great examples of really anabolic, high energy cultures as well. And so that got me curious around coaching. And I took training, did some coaching qualifications, and following the breadcrumbs, that's how I got here.
I love it. Following the breadcrumbs. I love that phrase. One of the things that I mean, you mentioned so many little things in there, especially the toxic culture. I've been in one of those. That's not fun to be in. But as I looked at your website, which I recommend people go to because it's really, really cool. It's just charlotte-smith.com. Whether you're an attorney or not, you're going to learn some cool things and how you just lay things out. But you talk in there about leaders who grow to a certain level, or they may have a vision, a business owner has a vision, and they start hiring people, but nobody's trained them to be a leader, right? And whether you're in a law firm and growing in the ranks, becoming partner or whatever, or whether you're an entrepreneur, I think it's the same battle, because it's really a mental battle needing training. What have you found it hinders people from that, and how do they get past that, really, is the question.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things at an organizational level, in private practice, and actually in legal teams within corporations as entrepreneurs. If we don't invest in our training and development, then we don't always grow. It's kind of that learning by osmosis, and there's lots of different leadership styles out there, and learning by osmosis, I believe, is absolutely great. And we could kind of go on a segue right now and talk about the impact of remote working and how that may have impacted the concept of learning by osmosis, but I won't go there. So yeah, it's interesting because traditionally law firms don't necessarily have that leadership training in place. It's just, these are the steps that you take, you bill your hours, and then you're going to be on partnership track. Right. Very similar in corporations. Yeah. However, different business units. And when we look at, the C-suite, it has been very common practice for top CEOs to have an executive coach, and they will work with them on topics such as leadership. So I believe that by investing in actual leadership training, we can learn different techniques versus kind of copying perhaps some of the styles that may not necessarily be that conducive to great leadership.
Yeah, that's great. I was just sitting here going, all right, you just laid out what I would call the C-suite culture. And you're right, many C-suite executives have a coach, but down the ranks, they don't. So if you're somebody coming up the ranks, many times you don't have a coach and you don't know how to lead. You just get a promotion. How do you lead at that level, right? I had that experience. So I was in a ministry to families. I was growing up the corporate ladder. I got into the C-suite. I had outpaced myself. I was way out of my league. Fortunately, they hired a coach for me to help me get through some of those mental battles and some of those issues of how do I function at this level? Because this is a whole new level, right? Do you find that to be fairly common then?
Yeah, and I think the mindset part is really huge. I am not one of those coaches that believe that everything is about mindset. I think that it's important to fuse mindset with strategy and concrete, tangible goals, for example. But yeah, I see a few things. Individuals, I don't know if it's a lawyer thing or a human being thing. Let's say it's a human being thing for now, but I would hazard a guess that 99% of human beings have that inner critic that is in the back of our minds, and maybe it's saying, hey Charlotte, you're out of your depth right now. You don't really know what you're doing.
Yes.
And I think in a lot of ways, actually, we're all just winging it. To acknowledge and validate that, but
totally. I was just on the phone with a coach from another organization, and we were talking about imposter syndrome. right? That I'm pretending to be something to the outside world. You think I'm this magnificent marketing guy. Internally, I'm like, you are just going to get found out really soon, right? That's what you're talking about. I think you're right. I think almost everybody, I think Tony Robbins deals with that at some level, right? I mean, we all do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the kind of inner critic, the imposter syndrome, that definitely comes up for people. And then,
all right, so it's common. This is good. This is good because Stephen Covey, long time ago, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? He wrote something, or I heard him say it one time. He says, that which is most personal is most general. So he was talking about in a classroom setting, you've got a question, but you're too scared to ask the question. But as soon as you ask it, everybody else goes, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask too, right? Same thing here. Business owner, attorney, financial, it doesn't matter. We all are struggling with that, but we're scared to make it known to even our peers or a coach. But as soon as we do, everybody else says, oh yeah, that's me. And we're like, really? You? Charlotte, you know, surely not, right?
Yeah.
How do you get over that?
Well, and I think you also just make a really interesting point there, that when we are operating from a place of fear as a leader, so when we are scared to share our voice and be vulnerable, then the byproduct of that internalized fear can sometimes be behaving in a way that is inauthentic. And perhaps you may start to kind of take a more authoritarian style or start to micromanage. And so this is where that kind of toxic leadership starts to spill out and create dysfunctions in teams.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so important what you just said, because too many times those in the C-suite, because if you're dealing with that, you become a micromanager and the environment becomes toxic, you're not willing to admit that it's your fault, that you have anything to do with it. It's them. Oh, by the way, it's them. And now you have this us versus them chasm in your organization, which is just horrible. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy going the wrong way.
Yeah. And I believe that there really should be empathy for individuals that find themselves in that situation. It's very easy, and it's not uncommon to end up in that cycle. I have certainly observed it many times, and by being vulnerable, by investing in working on yourself, and you know, I hesitate to use this phrase, but I'm going to use it. The being heart-centered, approaching leadership from a place of love. And I know that sounds a little bit corny, but coming back to center and really trying to check in and see, okay, who's speaking right now? Is this fear, or is this my higher self that feels fearless, that feels limitless, and that knows the path and the direction to kind of move forward? How am I making decisions, and where is that kind of based? I think is something that can be hugely transformational.
Absolutely. Because when we are centered, when we know ourselves, right, it allows us to lead with love, to put your needs ahead of my own and say, I'm here to help you grow or whatever. But it also allows me to say, well, Charlotte, I don't know the best path forward here. It's out of my area of expertise. Let's find some other people or something. That's vulnerable for a leader. I mean, what would you do if a head partner would come and say, well, I really don't know? Well, usually we respect them more, actually, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what they're painting. That's not the picture they're painting in their mind. That critic is saying, if you do that, you're going to be the laughing stock of everybody.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting as well, because I've actually heard a lot of in-house counsel give that feedback when referring to their outside counsel. Sometimes they always feel like they have to know the answer, whereas like sometimes they would appreciate them being candid in that kind of radical honesty. Sorry, we don't have the answer to that right now, but we're going to find out for you. Oh wow. And doesn't that like take away the heaviness and take away the weight that I think a lot of young lawyers experience as a result of, I always have to know the answer.
Yes. Yeah, because that just puts more fear and more pressure when you feel you're climbing the ranks and, oh, the boss is calling me in. Oh no, you're automatically scared and fearful because it's like going to the principal's office, right? When it should never be that way, because that's not a healthy culture. If you want the best out of your people, you need an open culture that says, we're here to help you grow. And instead of doing an annual review to say, okay, Charlotte, you're missing it on these 3 points, to go, hey, how are we growing, Charlotte? Where can we help you grow next year? It's a totally upside down approach to business, but it makes so much sense. I wonder why we don't do more of that. Is it not taught, do you think, in all the books and things? Do they just not teach this? Or why is it that we get stuck in our heads listening to ourselves, which is never a good thing usually?
I think it's that inner critic, it's that inner voice, which, again, I have a few theories around the legal profession. I think that it attracts in many type A individuals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of perfectionism. You've got to get certain grades in order to progress to the next stage. And so there's very much that kind of philosophy that you have to be right. And, you know, God forbid you make a typo or get the answer wrong. So that's that kind of like psychological conditioning that makes it very difficult to you know, sometimes accept that we don't have the answers. But by number one, learning to actually have self-compassion and let yourself off for not always having the answers, I think that's really important. And then as a leader, learning different tools and techniques around helping your team member to find the answers through being curious and asking questions is something that we can work to train and transform the legal profession.
That's right. No, that's good. Asking questions. You know, I've been around a few leaders, mentors, and coaches who are amazing at asking questions. And it drives me batty because I'll be struggling with something. They'll ask me 1 or 2 questions, and it's just like the Red Sea parts and the answer's right in front of me, because they didn't answer my issue. They asked a good question. And I think we need to train and teach on that.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's that distinction, isn't it, between, as a lawyer, you are an advisor.
Yes.
Sometimes actually the most underrated tool that, again, we're not trained always to fully utilize is the ability to listen, and to listen to what has been said, but also what has not been said.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've been in sales most of my life, right? In one form or fashion. And I'm an introvert by nature, right? And so the typical salesperson is that outgoing, you know, wow, they're talking all the time. But I read enough books to realize the best salespeople are actually introverts, and they ask questions. And because of that, we elicit the needs of our prospect and clients, and we can solve their. And when I finally realized that, the light bulb came on, it's like, oh, well, that's easy. I can be myself. I don't have to try to be somebody else, right? And I think so many times we try to be somebody else, that young buck attorney, financial advisor, business owner, whatever. And what happens is we start sacrificing the things that are really important to us: our time with our family, our health, our happiness. You know, I got into law because I thought it was going to be great, but this really stinks, right? But those things don't need to be sacrificed. There is a way to have an enjoyable, fulfilling practice, business, life, if you have the right balance and the right thinking process, right? Talk about how you help people with that.
Yeah, so that is huge. And a lot of clients actually come to me with that being their primary concern. Because, perhaps like when you're starting out and when you're in your like early 20s and 30s, the financial piece is the biggest priority. However, when you are burning the candles both ends and you get kind of sucked into the machine that is grind. And again, not uncommon for clients to come to me and say that they start their day at 6 or 7 a.m. and then they're working until 3, 4 a.m. on a regular basis, and are struggling with health issues. Can you believe it?
I got an answer. Wow.
And we, in some ways, it's kind of unique to the legal profession because there are certain roles and places where they get paid to kind of work those crazy hours, but it's not always sustainable. And
right.
Yeah,
It's usually not worth it to do. No. Why? On your website, which again I'm going to tell people to go to, okay, charlotte-smith.com, because there's a number of things I want you to read on Charlotte's website. Go to her about page, read that, because she's done a phenomenal job. Of most about pages, Charlotte, about us and whatever, are just boring as all get out. Yours is fun and engaging, and I learned some things, so well done. But I also want people to go to your website and read about your why. You put it on there. Here's my why. And we've heard with Simon Sinek, start with why and all that. And we always hear, well, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? I think it's really important to understand why we do what we do, so that we can not only be motivated, have happy, fulfilling, meaningful lives, but so that the red flags start going off when we start deviating from that why to go, well, I'm working 18 hours a day. How many are you working? Well, you know what? I work 6, dummy. Because I appreciate my family and my health and why are you doing what you're doing? I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And when you are younger, perhaps it's like, I want to have a high paying job in a fancy office and make lots of money. And as you start to kind of grow a family and your priorities shift and change, that's typically when people come to me for the kind of mindset well-being coaching. This isn't fulfilling me anymore. Right. This is not what I want. And there becomes so there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, we can create shifts in our own personal behaviors, start to assert boundaries. Perhaps it's getting more effective at time management. So there's definitely tools and techniques that we can do to feel less overwhelmed where you are right now. However, there are absolutely situations where this is just not the right place. There is not a kind of values alignment. And so perhaps what does it look like to move somewhere else, to launch your own firm, to go into an entirely separate industry? And isn't that exciting and amazing to be able to do that?
It is exciting and amazing. It's like taking an adventure, moving from the UK to America, right? And at the same time, there's a fear of getting it wrong or second guessing yourself. So who am I to start my own law firm? Nobody's. How would I? Who would I? And we listen to that inner critic who just it's like, take a gun out, shoot every idea that you got. No. You need someone like Charlotte or another coach to go, oh no, you can do this, right? Yeah.
And I think because of my personal story, which, I'm, as you mentioned on the website, very open to sharing, I have battled those mindset demons. Who are you to launch your own business? And that inner voice that can really make decisions, such as taking a leap of faith in a different direction, to be paralyzing. And what I know, because being a coach, I invest in my own coaches because I really believe in the power of having someone to kind of objectively support you on that journey.
You're here.
I think it's incredibly powerful to have someone help you kind of tame those mindset gremlins, so to speak.
I love it. Yeah. So that's going to be one of my bullet points for this podcast is how to slay your mindset demons. Because we you mentioned coaching. We all need coaches. I tell that to my audience all the time. I've got 3 or 4 coaches in my life. Some of them are business coaches. Some of them are mindset coaches. It's funny, Charlotte, because I'm a marketing guy, right? I mean, I built my whole business on marketing and credibility marketing. Guess what? I have at least 2 marketing coaches that look at my business because I'm too close to it. They can see things about my business that I cannot see. Same thing with mindset coaches. They can see how I'm thinking. They can see patterns because you've seen it in multiple clients to go, okay, I see what's going on here. How about this? Are you thinking about this? And I'm like, yeah, how'd you know that? You're a mind reader. No, you've just been down the road a few times. Having a coach, somebody who walks with you, who's been down the path a little bit before you, they're not there to spoon feed you and answer all of your questions. They're there really to ask great questions. Some of my best coaches just ask questions. Drives me nuts because they ask a great question. Would you just give me it? And they're like, so a great coach. That's the point that I really wanted to drive home right there out of that whole thing is we all need coaches. We all need people to mentor, maybe call them a mentor if you don't like coach, somebody to walk to help you slay those mindset demons. Because I've learned in my life, when I slay one of those mindset demons and I poke my head up out of the hole and I realize, guess what? I can do that. And life gets better. And then right around the corner is another demon, right? They're all over the place.
I always like to use the kind of visual of like peeling back the layers of an onion. And that can be how the journey feels sometimes. But isn't it amazing when that demon is slayed and you do poke your head above the parapet and look around?
You do. And the air is clear. And then the couple really cool things happen is you find clarity, which is one of my 3 big words that I always use. Clarify, simplify, and multiply. Okay. You find clarity, you clarify where you're going. It also gives you the inner peace and confidence to look around and help somebody else get through that journey because they're all dealing with those demons. We all have our own demons. Yours are different than mine, but we all have them.
Yeah.
And we need people like Charlotte to help us just ask great questions and say, you know what, you're not the first one to walk this path. Let me share with you where the path's going. We talk to people all the time, Charlotte, who obviously are coming to us to possibly create a book, right? Most of my clients have never created a book before. They've always wanted to. And I tell them, I say, Charlotte, you're getting ready to walk into a dark room. You don't know where the furniture is. You don't know where the light switches are. It's scary. But I've been in that room about 1,000 times, Charlotte. I know where every piece of furniture is. I know where every light switch. Take my hand and let me guide you through the room. Would that be okay? Oh, would you? Same thing happens with mental demons. We need somebody like you to guide us down a pathway to go, I know how to help you get through these demons and slay them. And we'll just take care of them to get you where you want to go, to gain more peace in your life, more family time, more fulfillment, have a happier life, whatever you choose to do. I can help you get there.
Yeah.
Kind of what you get to do.
And I think that is like the magic of having support in any area, working with a coach like myself or with someone like you, and the way that you have just described it, because you are not walking around anymore with that heaviness and anxiety around, well, I would love to realize this dream, but I don't know where to start. Once that has gone, it means that you can show up differently in other areas of your life, because the reality is, let's be honest, we take our work stressors home with us, and it's so common. I see it all the time where yes, someone's working hard and they're having success by way of promotions and financial success. However, perhaps things aren't going so well at home, or in terms of social relationships, or that health is suffering as a result. So it's all linked.
It's all linked. Absolutely. That's a great way to bring this all back together, because it is all linked, because we're human, right? We have systems, and what I think, okay, so I use this little acronym called TEA. I'm a coffee drinker, but T, right? Thinking, emotions, and actions. What we think impacts how I feel, my emotions, and how I feel impacts how I act. And so most of the time, it all starts up in my head with my thinking, but I can change my thinking by how I move, right? So it's boiling things down to the simple, but I learned that from somebody else, from a mentor years ago, but I still use it today, and I teach it to others. We all need those things, those formulas, those concepts we have so many of, to be able to say, I need a breakthrough here. I'm struggling. Charlotte, what do I do, right? And because of your vast experience and your great wisdom and everything, you can just say, hey, here's what I've seen work for others. Let's talk about it. There's a hopeful future. There's a happy place that we want to get you to. Let me walk.
I think that's beautiful. And to just kind of throw on at the end a tool that people can use. So once we've identified our thoughts, and they're creating the feeling or emotion, and then that's having a certain behavior, how do we shift that? How do we actually change that? Because we've got the awareness. So I have a little kind of framework, which is, number one, write down what triggered the thought. So was it someone said? Was it an email that you got from your boss that made you kind of go to that dark place? Write it down. What is my mind saying? So write down, maybe it's saying, oh, you're a terrible lawyer and you should probably just quit. Write down what is the thought that you are thinking. Then examine, well, how true is that? How true is it that you're a complete failure and you should just quit entrepreneurship and go and get a real job? And you can start to write down, well, actually, I signed a client last week and they were really happy. And this client just sent me a really lovely thank you note in the post. Whatever that looks like, you write down and you reframe there. How true is it? Then the final layer that I would add on is, what would you say to a friend or to a colleague, someone who you care about, if they were going through this kind of mindset conundrum? And chances are you would be way kinder, way nicer, and share some very valuable insights into how to manage that situation. And so as you write down and journal down, how would you advise a friend? I think the answer is there, and you can reconnect from shifting from that place of fear to that place of love and sense of like conscious clarity.
Ooh, I like that. Conscious clarity. Okay, write that down. Conscious clarity. That's awesome. No, I think you're right. Those are great questions. And too many times we get stuck in our head, repeating the movie, letting the movie go over and over and over of our demons, versus stopping and asking, okay, what triggered that? Why am I thinking about that? What did he say? Oh, that's what he said. Okay. What am I thinking about what he thought? Going through those 4 little steps is fantastic, because it causes us to stop listening to ourselves and almost be that third party objective party to go, okay, oh, that's it. And you're right, 99.9% of the time, we're not nearly as bad as we make ourselves out to be. All right. Whether it's at work, in our marriage, in our parenting, whatever, we're not that bad. We just think we are, because those demons like to win. So that's pretty cool. So Charlotte Smith, the mindset demon destroyer. How about that? We'll give you a nickname.
Okay.
It's so cool, because mindset I still work on it every day, my mindset, trying to make sure I've got a great positive mindset and all that, because it just makes every day better. And when challenges come my way, they're not challenges, they're opportunities. Okay, I'm going to grow. Yeah. Okay, how do I help you? And it really does make a difference in life, and it helps you live that happy life. And that's what you help lawyers do. But I think through this podcast, Charlotte, you've helped a lot of business owners do it as well. And I hope they will go to your website, charlotte-smith.com, just to read it. I mean, if you're an attorney, reach out to her. Maybe she can help you. But there's lots of things on your website that are really cool, well written, and it's as engaging, Charlotte, as you are. Thank you so much for just sharing some time with us and helping us understand a little bit more about how we can live a fulfilling life, and really a limitless life, whether you're a lawyer or a business owner or anybody. Thank you.